What is a human being? Welcome to Philosopher's Corner. I'm John. What is a human being? A human being is consciousness made flesh. The process and the design of the human being is such that we have a mortal time frame in a given world, in the material, temporal, corporal world. And the human body is an intricately designed and evolved animal vessel for an infinite consciousness. And as we examine the human body from the outward in, we will find that all of the design functions and evolutionary achievements of a human body are set up so that there can be an experience of both the physical world as an animal experiences it, and as certain inner realizations are achieved and absorbed into the human animal body, and they matriculate into the inner spiritual world, many times through the intellectual understandings of the brain, which act as a gateway to the spiritual discernment deeper within the body and into the soul. Connections to the universal spiritual energies that underlie and unify reality are established. And if we look at the human body through this lens, then the interactions of a human with the environment make sense. Both the inner struggles and the outer activities. We know that this world is a vibratory holographic world. It is a light matrix composed of infinitely vibrating parts that are interlatticed and interconnected. Interconnected meaning that they have cause and effect in linear manner. They have tangential connections on every physical level. And they're interlatticed in terms of the more you dive into them in a Mandelbrot fractal set manner, you'll see that the dimensions are overlaid and interlatticed. They go up and down, whichever way you want to describe the directions of them. And we find out that the human body is capable of navigating both dimensions, both in the physical dimensions and in the inner, more refined energetic dimensions. And advanced practitioners, advanced human beings throughout history have come back to enlighten us to the fact that when you begin the journey, once you have done the external journeys using the flesh, and those curiosities have been satiated, and you turn that curiosity inwards and use the internal searches the human body has, that at first you will begin where many scientists do, and you'll start to discover the vibratory nature of things, the regular molecular things, the regular chemical compositions, all of the material, phenomenal things of the world. And then very quickly you'll enter into the quantum realm. And then very quickly after that, when you ascend through the quantum realm, you'll start to get to the mental and astral realms. And then eventually, if you decide to cross the river Styx, you'll get into the spiritual realm. And throughout the entire journey, keeping in mind that the human body is consciousness made flesh, and that all the design functions of the human body are set up so that we can engage in all these travels and inquiries, and that we can come back with findings and present them independently to other human beings who have also done it, and we can independently verify these findings, which is what many of the great yogis and teachers and mystics and messiahs and high-level people throughout human history have done and have come back to tell us in their own way. So right then and there, we can realize that the human body, the human being, it's an amazing vehicle for consciousness. And when we put it in comparison to the other animal bodies that are available to house consciousness, that it is extraordinary and unique in that respect. That it has the ability to strictly act in the physical world and act very well in the physical world. And then it also has the ability to act in the inner, energetic, refined, leading up to the spiritual realms in a highly competent manner, extremely proficient manner, a perfected manner even. So when we look at the human body, obviously we're a bipedal mammal. We have a fairly sturdy body, average life expectancy, 80 to 110 roughly, which if you look in human historical documents, that age range is actually up for debate, because apparently ancient humans, according to their texts, lived a lot longer. They don't currently live that long now. Don't know why. And when we really get into it, human beings have 5 common senses: touch, taste, sight, smell, and hearing. It's also a well-established fact at this point that human beings have more than the 5 common senses. Call them extrasensory perceptions, call them whatever you want. Extremely long history, proven history of human beings have psychic abilities, which we should probably just call elevated mental ability or externalized spiritual ability. It's actually pretty common, and the more we normalize it, the more common it will become. We're extremely intuitive. We are extremely in tune with our emotions and our feelings, which emotions, which I did a video about, are the aggregate energies of our consciousness field. And as we go further into the physical body, we have an incredibly high level operating brain. Most humans haven't even begun to unlock the power of our brain, me included. When scientists study them, basically the storage capacity, just the storage capacity of the brain alone, it can handle infinity, essentially. Like it can handle all of creation, which is direct evidence that the human body has evolved in coordination to understand and handle the data of creation itself. Which in terms of science, because science is obsessed with classifying things in its species and, all the different labels and categories, the fact that the human brain is at that level to handle the universe puts us in a class by ourselves, just on a hardware level. That's just the beginning. Now, when we follow the brain, which is unbelievably capable, and we look at it and we connect it through the spinal cord, and we look at where the nervous system goes through, not only do we find that the nervous system is just basically tendrils of the brain, and that literally every single vibration, which is our experience of the physical reality, eventually gets translated into the nervous system somehow and sent into the brain. Well, everything gets sent into the brain as a electrical impulse to be decoded in central locations in the brain that create what we consider to be our experience of reality. We also find that scattered throughout the nervous system are neurons, and neurons are the connected points within the brain that actually make the brain the brain. Those are the things conducting electrical impulses, transferring information, and essentially the computer that translates all the vibration of our experience into our brain, where our consciousness perceives it. And our consciousness being who we think we are, our soul, our identity, our point of perception, whatever you want to call it. We're sitting in somewhere in here, seeing and experiencing all of the vibrations that the body is translating into that area. And within the central nervous system, it turns out that we have a bunch of neurons scattered around, not just in the brain, to include within the solar plexus, which many researchers have said and the ancients say that that's our second brain. And many people refer to it as our animal brain, the collection of neurons that are sitting in our solar plexus near our stomach, which is why when we say we have a gut feeling, or it doesn't feel good in our stomach, or any reference to the stomach area as being a deciding factor in our consciousness, is likely due to the fact that we have a collection of neurons sitting in there, which act as a minor brain. All of these systems are reporting information, vibratory information, back to the brain. So that's just that level. Obviously, we have all of the fleshly operating things. We have organs, vascular system, all the general anatomy of the human body, which has allowed us to be in this environment and physically navigate it fairly well. Obviously, the consciousness part of us has had to devise certain things so that we can operate in different environments. Like if we want to go underwater, if we want to go into space, if we want to be in extreme temperatures, like we have to make clothing and externalize things. But the body itself is still able to operate in these environments, given that we can create a slight atmosphere around it. Now, when we go deeper into the internal portion of the human body, we find that the human body is running on light waves, right? So we have a chakral system, and the chakral system, which is well documented by many cultures for millennia, essentially acts like a light prism. So as the light of the universe comes into us and shoots through our body, the chakral systems essentially act like a prism. And the light emanates out of each of the chakral systems at different frequencies, which means different colors, and they carry different informations, and they correspond to the different layers of reality, to the different levels of the reality that we're interacting with, from the very gross fundamental animal levels, which are what the sacral and root chakras are, up to the solar plexus. And their wavelengths are lower and slower, so you get the colors of red, orange, and yellow, appropriate to like the slower and longer wavelengths. And they carry that level of information, and they anchor us into those planes of existence. So if I were to go into the jungle and I wasn't thinking any high thoughts or high perspectives, I was just being an animal in the jungle, and I'm in the Amazon, I'm looking out for pythons and jaguars, mainly like lower third chakras are going to be involved. So I'm like really in it. I'm really believing that I'm just my flesh. And so those are going to be coming in. And then as I move up to the heart, which is green and is the center point for these experiences from the high and the low, and I get into the center of reality, well, then I'm in an ability where I can go around much more centered. I'm not worried about fight or flight. I'm not thinking about how to like kill animals to eat that day. I'm having more centered thoughts. I'm having universal energy be able to start flow through my heart chakra, which we call love. And that's a lot more centered and stable. And that's a long journey. And these journeys are controlled by awareness and by moral decision making. And each time we do that, then we can unlock and master each of these chakral levels. So as we go up, then we go up into the throat chakra, which is blue, and it's communication, where the light's coming through here. And then we go up into the third eye region, which is indigo, which is where you start to get direct spiritual perception. And the scientists have shown, they know that the pineal gland, which is located back in here, that this actually exists, that there is a receptor here that is light sensitive, and as the light comes into here, and it's an organ that we can open up through meditation and practice and whatnot. That's what a lot of psychedelics concentrate on. So as the energy and the light comes through the third eye, that it does go back into the pineal gland, which is, I forget the name, piezoelectric, which means that as the light hits it, it gets converted. There's like basically little crystals in there that convert it into electrical impulses, sent to the brain. It's the same thing that DMT activates, and the same thing that we get that activates our dreams at night and stimulates the visuals. Well, that is well documented spiritual lens, spiritual eye that we have. And when that opens up, then the animal kingdom still exists, but then we have basically like a spiritual contact lens that comes over and overlay, so we can start seeing the spiritual aspects of the reality, which that's where the morality comes in. That's where, to be able to see the spiritual, you need moral discernment to see what's going on. It's a whole new sense. It's when one gets there, they know what they're seeing. It's a whole video of its own. So that's indigo, and then the crown chakra, which is up here, which is basically the top of, this is long shown to be like a lotus flower opening, 1,000-petal lotus flower, because as your chakra and your brain really opens up, then you've really decided that, this is going to be basically a light antenna. This is going to be your Wi-Fi connection into the universal energies. Log into the cosmic consciousness, and then the energies can flow through here and then down through into your chakral system, and you can become a prism of light, and that opens up. Now, you're still simultaneously being a human animal in the animal realm. And once you've gone through this process, which I'm giving broad strokes for, each of these levels can take a while, and they're very awe-inducing. And when you get to the spiritual realm, it's it's an awe-inducing, highly enlightening process that I'm I'm glossing over a bit here, because we're just talking about the human body in its totality. But when one opens up the crown chakra, then the light can really flood through the system, and it can act like a light prism. Now, got to be able to handle the balance of both knowing that we're an animal in the flesh, and that now we have access to, and we're perceiving directly, the spiritual level, the consciousness level of things, if you prefer that term. And now at that point, as a human being that's activated, we can now engage in both the material realm and the consciousness realm. And in the process, we learn how to create in it, which, in my opinion, is the optimum and the highest design for human beings, is to be a master of light, to be a creator of consciousness, a creator of reality. In short, a creator. So what is a human being? A human being is a creator. The consciousness made flesh. Well, thanks for spending some time here at Philosopher's Corner. I hope you found it helpful, and have fun.